Hello and welcome back to Wine Reform. So today I am pretty excited because I have gotten my hands on a Sicilian wine. Now if there's one thing I've learned about Sicilians is that you don't call them Italian. Even though Sicily's part of Italy, they're Sicilian first, so call them that. So I'm going to call this one a Sicilian wine because that's where it's from, the island of Sicily. More specifically, it's from the Mount Etna region, which I've heard has some really interesting terroir. We are going to be trying the Fattorie Romeo del Castello Allegracore, which is an Etna Rosso made from Nerello Mascalese, and we're going to be trying their 2017 wine. Obviously, I'm not in Sicily, but I have a friend who is. So I was thinking maybe we'd call him up because he has been to the vineyards, he's experienced Sicilian wine firsthand. He knows this stuff a lot better than I do, so we're gonna see if we can call up my friend Eric Zeak, and maybe he'll do a tasting with us. Let's call him. So hey, how are ya?
Hi, good. How are you?
Pretty good. Okay. So I was hoping that you would do a little wine tasting with us here on Wine Reform because I want to learn about Sicilian wine.
I think that's a fantastic idea. I'm ready to taste some wines from around the world.
Since I don't know anything about Sicilian wine, would you mind teaching us about it? Because it sounds pretty cool.
Absolutely. So we're going to be trying the Mount Etna wine today, which is in Sicily, in Italy. And the cool thing about Sicily is they've been making wine for thousands of years. So it goes back to the Greek times. The Greeks colonized here in Sicily back in the 700
BC times. So that's really when you kind of start to see the winemaking develop and it really starts to take off. But so a really long time. And they use primarily it's native grape varietals that we have here in Sicily, which is pretty interesting because the native grapes, they're I would say they're stronger, right? They have adapted over time. They have adapted to the conditions, the weather. They're more pest resistant because they've adapted over time like that. It's actually kind of a sustainability thing, right? I know a lot of other winemakers they look to that. They look to try to be doing the native grape varietals because of those benefits that you get from it like that. And so Sicily already kind of on top of it, which is pretty interesting. And the grape that we're trying today, the wine, it's the Nerello Mascalese, and that is a native grape varietal here in Sicily from Mount Etna.
You ever the farm to table movement, except they're way ahead of everybody?
You look back and it's it was actually from the old times. It's the old ways, and I guess it works, right? That's why you end up getting back to it.
Yeah, that's really fantastic. I do have a question about so I know that Sicily is pretty sunny most of the time, right? It's pretty warm. So
yes.
Does that change on Mount Etna?
It absolutely changes. So yes, Sicily is generally pretty warm, and then the other regions, definitely you're getting the big, fruity, bold red wines because it is so warm, it's so sunny. But on Etna, totally different. And that's really where you start to see that the Etna region is so unique. The weather conditions are totally different because you have a cooler climate up there. And so the wines, they tend to hang on more to their acidity, right? Because it's cooler up there. They're not quite as big and bold and fruity like in the other parts of Sicily that you get. They're usually more refined, more reserved, more elegant.
That sounds really good. It sounds like a treat.
It's really the weather conditions, the terroir, right, on Etna is where it gets to be so unique.
Okay, so we're not necessarily tasting something that's going to be really indicative of Sicily as a whole, but it's more just the poster child for Etna.
Exactly.
I think we both managed to get the same wine, right?
This this is the wine we have.
Except, okay, so I've got the 2017 and you've got the 2018. So
Yes, I have the 2018, but it's the same, the Allegracore, and from the Fattorie Romeo del Castello.
So do you know a little bit about like kind of what Nerello Mascalese is supposed to taste a bit like?
Yes, so in general, I would expect it to taste, usually I start to get cherry. That's what I usually pick up on a lot is cherry. Other people say strawberry, maybe a little pomegranate, but I get cherry, maybe sour cherry. And you will, I think, pick up on some minerality, maybe even some smokiness, we'll see. And the cool thing about Etna, they kind of have like microclimates. So depending on where you are on the mountain, it's a volcano. I guess we can't talk about Etna without talking about the volcano. That's what it is, right? It's Europe's largest, most active volcano. And it's actually very active. About once a week, it's going off. You can see lava flowing. It's crazy?
You're serious? And then,
yeah, lava.
How do the grapevines survive when there's an active volcano?
So the wine growing region is not, right at the top, obviously. The wine region is down, I think usually it's around the 2,000 feet to 3,000 foot elevation. And so the lava is not getting all the way down that far. But interestingly enough, the winemaker from the one that we have today, I think they actually had a little bit of a run-in with an eruption back in like the 80s, 1981, I think. It like actually took out part of their estate. So it's definitely active.
So there's got to be someone who works there now, part of the family, was there for that eruption.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I don't love that happened, but it's kind of cool that they can be like, I remember when.
Anyway, I was saying, I kind of got off track. There's just so much to talk about. So much to talk about. The microclimates, depending on where you are on the mountain, the conditions are different. So are you on the north side versus the south side? South side might be a little bit warmer, so it's going to be different. Where are you at in terms of the elevation? That's going to affect it. Are you more towards the east side, which has more exposure to the ocean? So it's all these things, all the factors, and it's crazy how it changes like that.
That's really beautiful. I feel like it just goes to show how much the earth plays a role in what you're drinking, which
absolutely
fantastic. I don't have like a huge story for the wine that I bought. I kind of just went to a specialty wine store in my area, and it was described to me as a tanned Pinot Noir, but like it was so easy for me to find, but there was nothing crazy.
Yeah, well, when we started talking about this, I was wondering if it was going to be difficult for you, because I had, until coming here 2 years ago, I had never, I guess I wasn't as much into wine then anyway, but I don't think I had ever heard of Mount Etna wine. So I wasn't even sure what you were going to be able to find in the United States. I think the wine store person that told you it was like a tanned Pinot Noir, I think that's probably about right. Usually they do kind of compare it to a Pinot Noir. So
okay, cool.
But then you told me about the wine that we were going to be tasting, and I had to look it up to see what it was, where they were at, and I found it, got all excited because I was gonna try and go there and taste it, but unfortunately, because of COVID times, they're not open doing tastings right now. So that was a no-go. But then I asked them, can I buy the wine? And I told you my Italian's not very good. So this is a perfect example of sometimes, I don't know, there's embarrassing moments. It's awkward. It's weird. But I was communicating with the lady, Rosanna is her name, and I was trying to buy it, and she gives me a phone number, and I'm thinking it's the phone number of like a wine store or something, because she said I could actually buy it in the town that I live in. And so I said, okay, great, I'll do that. And so I messaged that number, and then it turns out it's the same lady.
Well, I imagine it's probably happy hour for you?
We're right at the perfect time.
Okay, awesome. So I will be intrigued because normally I taste wine in the afternoon, but I have been told from other sommeliers that tasting wine in the morning is the best time to do it. I'm probably itching to get this open, and I bet you are too.
Yeah, I'm totally ready to get it open. So let's go ahead and do it here. Don't they have to they pour it over the candle flame?
That's only that's only if you're decanting. So what the candle does is it helps you see the sediment through the bottle, and when it reaches the neck, you stop.
Makes sense.
Yep. So it's not just to be snooty; it's actually useful. So I like when I'm tasting wine, I have to break it down, or else things feel kind of inconsistent, and then I miss a part. So I like to divide
Absolutely. You gotta follow the procedure.
All right, let's do it. Let's make this scientific. Let's do it. Oh my gosh, that's so pretty. I have a black table right now. I have a white sheet of paper.
Well, I knew you were gonna say that, so I got mine ready to go as well. Usually pretty pale.
I guess I'm gonna have to go with that medium intensity.
Yeah, I would say mine is a medium pale, and would you say ruby red?
I'd say garnet because it's got
ruby. Ruby red to garnet.
I mean, it has that nice browning. It looks like it looks like
well,
it.
Which year is yours?
Mine is 2017.
Okay, well, so 1 year older than mine, so maybe because as they age, right, they would go more garnet.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that checks out. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can see the difference between our wines. Yours definitely is more ruby, while mine is more garnet.
It looks very clean and clear to me.
It's pretty impeccable. You ever just look at a wine and you're like...
You look at it and you're like, I know that's going to taste good.
Okay, so my 2017 Allegracore is definitely medium intensity garnet with perfect clarity.
And I would say mine is more on the ruby red side of that color scheme, but the same, very clear.
So for newbies out there, or anyone who hasn't seen a wine reform tasting before, smelling the wine is evaluating the nose. So that's what we're gonna do now.
Let's do it.
It's got a kick to it, like walnut and peppery, but I definitely got those Pinot Noir characteristics first, like that strawberry, and I got some cranberry.
Yeah, I always kind of get more on the kind of tart side of those red fruits, so sour cherry, cranberry, like you said. Yeah, I think that's spot on.
I'm getting something else in there that I can't quite place my nose on.
What do you think it is?
Pine.
Pine. Okay.
Yeah, I was not expecting that, but that's what it smells like to me.
Yeah, there is a kind of a woody, and I would almost associate that with peppery, woody kind of, yeah.
Yeah, musky sort of aromas. Okay, so I guess for my 2017, I'm getting that cherry, strawberry, cranberry, pepper, walnut, and pine.
I think the 2018, yes, definitely the red fruit on the sour kind of side of that. So cherries, cranberries, and I think it's making me think kind of peppery.
Can we taste it?
I think we should absolutely do that.
All right, so now we're going to be evaluating the palate. Palate as in your tongue, your mouth. We're going to see what flavors we can glean and, what else we can figure out about this wine. So let's do it. Cheers.
Cheers.
That was pretty surprising, but in a really good way.
I was surprised too. Not exactly what I was expecting.
No, not at all. Because given its, medium intensity, it's packs the punch of a heavy red.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that it's there. And I always just love how like crisp and clean they are, and that's the acidity, and it just feels so fresh on your palate.
Which is really awesome because, it was also felt heavily tannic, felt really good that way though.
Yep. So the grape is usually, you get that pretty good amount of tannins on them. Just general characteristics of the Nerello Mascalese, good amount of tannins, higher acidity because of Etna. Where I was kind of surprised on it, not the fruity flavors. So mine definitely went in that like pepper range and the earthy. The red fruit is there, but I think it smelled more like the red fruit than it tasted.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like in terms of the which flavors came forward, I definitely got the pepper and the pine and the walnut first, and then I got that cranberry, and then the sour, and then that cherry, and then the strawberry. I would say like you said, the acidity was it was a zinger. Like it really made my mouth water.
A real zinger.
Yeah, which was great because the tannin was so chalky. Like it felt like a very fine, almost like setting powder. That's what because it didn't feel very heavy, but it did definitely coat my mouth, which is why I guess I equate it to being a very fine chalk. The alcohol felt pretty darn high, like it tasted high. You get that warming sensation, and it was spot on.
Yeah. Well, what is yours, Zach? Mine is 13 and a half.
I beat you. Mine's 14.5.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I guess there was more sugar in the grapes that year, so.
See, isn't that's really neat that from year to year we got changes here?
Yeah, absolutely. Same grape.
Yep.
Same winery, same vineyards.
They're making the same wine, the line, the Allegracore.
Yeah, absolutely, which is so fascinating. The finish. How did the finish feel for you?
Well, let me give it one more sip to tell you again.
That's a good idea.
I think it's pretty good. It hangs around for a good amount of time.
Yeah, it was a long finish. I feel like the fruitiness that we mentioned came last. I think it lingered the longest too.
I love them. I'm a big fan of the Etna wines.
Oh, absolutely. I'm hooked. I'm sold. But I mean, like, I very rarely meet a wine that I just don't like. But then there are wines that I like, and there are wines that I really like.
Yeah, well, now that you mention it, I don't think I've ever said, like, I don't like this.
I really want to have this with, like, arancini.
Oh, arancini.
I miss arancini. Gosh, back in college, there were so many Italian restaurants where I went to school because there was a huge Italian population, more specifically, like, a lot of Sicilians. And they're
right
like,
on.
Yeah, they're like, you've never had arancini? And I was like, what is an arancini? And they're like, here, eat it. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And that's what I want with this.
Yeah. Well, first off, I'm surprised that you know what arancini is, because I think, before I came here, I don't think I knew what they were. So that's really cool that you had the Italians near your college there. That was cool.
So many. They're the sweetest.
Arancini's big deal here.
Well, then if you were going to eat that, would you drink this wine with it?
Yes. I mean, that would go perfectly. But I think the biggest thing that I really like with these is like grilled meats, like sausages.
Ooh,
and if you get one that has enough tannins, I think it goes well with like the grilled sausage.
Yeah, because it would probably have enough presence to balance out a heavy food.
If it's not enough on the tannins, not big enough, then maybe not so much on the grilled meats. But I think this one could do it.
Well, thank you for joining me for sure. This has been a blast.
Well, thank you for having me on Wine Reform.
I will talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye. thank you for joining me and Eric for this really awesome episode of Wine Reform. I definitely it was a blast for sure, getting to crack open a bottle of wine with a friend who's halfway across the world. The beauty of the 21st century, I swear. If you like what you saw, then be sure to give us a thumbs up. It lets YouTube know that they should definitely be showing this video to more people like you who appreciate a little bit of wine. And so you're doing them a favor, and therefore you should pat yourself on the back because you were doing an awesome thing. And if you really like what you saw, and you're new here, or you haven't done so already, then subscribe. I release wine-related content every single Friday, and Eric releases wine content every single Saturday, so I'm definitely going to link his channel as well. And he has some really awesome videos on how to taste wine and comparing wine of different price points, which is super cool because you get to see the perspective of someone who's experiencing wine in Sicily, which is really fun because then it can expand perhaps your knowledge of a particular region. So definitely check out his videos, they're super educational. If you want to be notified when I release a video, because we're all in different time zones, then be sure to click that bell icon and it'll let you know when I do release a video, and then you can check it out. With that being said, I am going to finish this wine, set aside the bottle, switch to coffee, and I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.